got interested just when the first Tea Party protests started, and I was watching the news that day. I was actually ended up being late for class because I was mesmerized by the number of people who had gone to downtown Nashville and the signs that they had, and which were mostly anti-Obama signs, and not having a real sense of what they were protesting or what they were angry about. And I thought, this is fascinating, and I went to class that day and started talking to students about it, and they got excited too, wanted to look into what is this movement, and at the time we were interested in what's the Tea Party and what's the Republican Party. Where has that line changed? Has it changed? And from there we just got into studying the Tea Party, and specifically using Eric Hoffer's ideas of how mass movements, fanatical mass movements, are started, because we saw a lot of elements in the Tea Party that seemed a bit fanatical, and we wanted to follow those and see what happened. What makes it fanatical, in large part, is that it is identifying itself against some kind of rhetorical devil. So it is a movement that identifies as being against something, and that involves a group of disaffected people who are not so much organizing to put forth a particular policy, or fighting for something like civil rights, but that they have a devil that they want to take down. And in this case, the devil was Barack Obama. You know, Barack Obama, they've painted him as being un-American, tyrannical, socialist. In the New York Times CBS poll of Tea Partiers, I mean, they believe that he doesn't have Americans' best values at heart, doesn't even know what they are, he's too socialist. So a lot of different characterizations that put him outside of normal American, and even seem to, the whole idea of tyranny, you know, needing to overthrow the government like the Tea Party did, suggests that this is not somebody who has the best interests of the United States at heart. Yeah, we looked at Eric Hoffer's ideas of fanatical movements to see if it did apply to the Tea Party, and we're finding that it does in large part, because you have a group of disaffected people, the people in the Tea Party, and identify themselves in polls as being very angry and very dissatisfied. And two things kind of come together at the beginning of Obama's presidency. First, the economy is in chaos, and people are afraid, and unemployment's out of control. And the other thing is that we do have our first African-American president, which for a lot of people was very unsettling. So those two things together kind of shook people up a lot, and they were looking for a place to feel better about that. And that's the kind of neat thing about a fanatical movement, is that it gives you a place to belong, okay? And when you're feeling powerless, it gives you a place to feel powerful. And it, to some degree, doesn't even matter what the movement is about. That's like, I noticed at the beginning, I'm not sure what they're protesting. It doesn't matter. It's just the idea that I am now in a brotherhood with these other people who are also angry and dissatisfied and don't like what's going on. So there's a comfort in that, which explains some of its popularity, I think. Like we're saying, it's easy to get a fanatical group growing, particularly when you have people who are frustrated and they are afraid. And certainly it's understandable that people feel that way in our economic situation. There's a lot of different things going on. And so it's understandable that a kind of movement like this would grow up. But they are characterized around what they're against. So yes, they're very influential. Yes, they're growing. Yes, they had some success in the 2010 midterm elections, but they don't have something that they're genuinely for. Just because they're influential, just because they're even getting into office, doesn't mean that we're finding solutions to the problems that made people feel uncomfortable and anxious in the first place. So as voters, you know, we need to understand that to be looking into the policies that are out there, what are you going to do? Rather than just say, yeah, we want this government out. So I think the other thing that's important to remember about this movement is that it has this violence-flavored rhetoric, that the Tea Party is about overthrowing tyranny. And it's easy, particularly for people who are more extremist-minded, to take that too far. This is the kind of rhetorical discourse that underlies the rise of fascism, the rise of communism. I mean, it can very easily get out of control. And when you have people telling you that the President of the United States is akin to George III, a tyrant who needs to be overthrown, that the government is out to hurt them, that's going to spur some people into more than just fighting at the ballot box. And that can be particularly dangerous. And we lose sight, I think, too, when we characterize President Obama or even the Democratic Party, they're not American. And then we lose this sense of what makes us American. This is our duly elected president. We belong to a democracy. This is how we do things. Sometimes one side loses. That doesn't mean the other side has become tyrannical. And so not getting caught up in that kind of rhetoric is important. Well, I think it's fascinating simply because it's happening right now. And that's a challenge for a researcher, right? That you're keeping up with it as it happens. We're not looking at historical documents or texts. And that's fun and it's fascinating. It has practical application, which is what I love about this field.